Welcome to Boro Fan TV, everybody. Good evening. The Monday night show's back with us. Me, James Hutchinson here. Boro also returned to action at the weekend against Coventry City and emerged with nothing to show from their efforts. It was also the first opportunity for Boro fans to see Anel Hernandez, Andrew Sporer and James Lee Salicki. What did you make of their contributions at the weekend? Boro fans, let us know and talk about the performance in general. What were your thoughts after that defeat down in the West Midlands? Joining me on the show tonight to look back at that game are David Campbell, Tony Guest and Damon LaRoche. Welcome aboard, lads.
Welcome.
Evening all.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Good to see you all again, lads. And for everyone watching out there tonight, not only are we going to be talking about the Coventry game at the weekend, we're going to look ahead to this week's fixtures down at Forest on Wednesday and at home to Blackpool back at the Riverside on Saturday. As always, we appreciate your views and thoughts. So get in touch with us on the show tonight. I'm sure there'll be lots that you want to contribute and talk about. So please get involved. It's your show and your area to talk about the Boro. Peter Grasham, thanks for watching again, mate. Hope you get involved again tonight. Tony, I'm going to come to you first. Coventry City at the weekend. Starting lineup, no Bowler, no Piero. Then we lost Paddy McNair in the warm-up as well. It was hardly the ideal preparation. But I think, again, Tony, it sort of illustrated the lack of balance in our squad, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. When you're seeing, our main threat, Isaiah Jones, playing at wing back, I thought to get the better out of him, if obviously with Paddy going down there injured, he could have put Dale left back and played with a back four, but it looks like he went with a back five and brought Isaiah Jones back into our half, which he's been our main source of goals. He's been our main source of an out ball, and it just... I honestly didn't see the game, but to see Jones at left back, that just, you start thinking, where's our chances coming from? What I've read and what I've heard, it looks like Tav definitely didn't have the best game in the Boro shirt, and Dykesteel's been getting a bit of stick. But it, like I was just saying before we came on air, James, I think I put something on Facebook, or I sent something to you yesterday. I think this year we've lost 16 games, and I think we've only won, is it 7 or 9, and all the others have been draws. And for me, that's putting Warnock into the dodgy territory. And by all accounts, what you heard on Saturday and what I've been reading, I think he's on thin ice already. Yeah, we've got two winnable games coming up, but I don't feel confident enough that we're going to go on and take points out of them games. And like you say, the squad's improved since the transfer window. But can I just say this, James?
Yeah.
I'll describe this. A team's in disarray and it's relying on free transfers and loans. What team am I on about? Damon? Am I talking about the Boro or am I talking about Derby County? Derby County. But it just sounds as if I'm talking about the Boro. You know what I mean? We've relied mainly on loanees and free transfers, and we as fans, we'll back the Boro. We'll back them every day of the week, and we'll all sit here later on in the show and saying we'll beat Forest and we'll beat Blackpool, but Gibson's going to have to start and dig deep for us to get anywhere near being a top 6 championship side. I think we're going down the wrong road, and Warnock's relying a lot on luck in these players, gelling quite quickly and pushing us up the table.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. We're all getting viewers getting in touch with us, lads. Andrew will give Warnock time and he will turn the club around. And on the flip side of that, you've got Patrick Wheatley. After what I've been seeing, I think Warnock needs to go, and I thought I would never say that. And I think we'll get beat by Forest and Blackpool. I mean, it's interesting how one game can see. We were quite optimistic before the transfer window closed and the international break, David. But now it seems as though one result has brought everything crashing down. And firstly, do you think that's fair? And do you think it's realistic that fans are feeling that way, particularly about Warnock? Or do you think it's way over the top? But two, do you think maybe Warnock didn't help himself at the weekend with the formation he set us out against Coventry with?
Yeah, I mean, after the international break and the signings we brought in and the optimism, going after the international break, we were all expecting a good result and we were hoping that was going to kick us on. But then on the flip side of that, James, he got the tactics completely wrong. And some of the new signs needed minutes. You could argue they should have started, but then it could have easily gone against him if that had been the case and we started getting beat. So I think that he was in a no-win situation, and I can see both Andrew's and Peter's point of views there. You know, I think he could.
Dave, I think if he'd have played the signings, he'd have got a bit of slack. The fans would have cut him a bit of slack if he'd have played the signings and got beat.
I don't know, Tony, because when those players came on, I know it was only half an hour, but we were just as bad with them. They didn't bring any emphasis or drive to our performance at all. But going on the second question, it's like his formation was completely wrong. And I'd said it on Saturday, TJ. That was a carbon copy of the Derby performance, and he hadn't learnt. They came out firing at the blocks, and they were just recycling possession, winning the balls, getting the ball down. And any team that plays football against Boro will beat us because we couldn't get the ball down and we were just stuck for ideas. And go back to Lee Cattermole and Boateng playing right midfield under McLaren, it was exactly the same under Warnock. You know, Dyke still, yes, he didn't cover himself in glory and it was a bad performance, but there wasn't one single positive from Saturday.
Can I bring you in on this, David, just before I bring Damon in on the next question? Anton de Sedge, thanks for getting in touch, mate. He said, I can't believe the thoughts that some fans have with Warnock at the moment. We haven't even seen our best 11 play 90 minutes yet. That best 11 might do wonders. Give it time. Fans are going on like it's Christmas already. Yeah. Do you subscribe to that? That some fans, and it's a massive overreaction that some fans are saying, get rid of Warnock. It's like chucking the bathwater out with the baby by saying, get rid of the manager now. Are you just genuinely concerned for where you see things going this season?
No, I've been saying I'm not going to judge the team up until October because there's been that many players and it's time to gel. But I can understand the fans on the other flip side who are wanting Warnock out because it's not just the performances, it's playing wing backs and people out of position, but it's also some of the stuff that he's coming out in the press and contradicting himself, and I think that's rifling a few of the fans up. Fans don't forget. But I think to ask for a change now is way too soon, and realistically, if Boro fans think about it, we do all realise that Gibson is not going to sack Warnock in his last game, in his last season in football. Yeah. The only way Warnock's going to go is if Warnock decides to walk himself.
Yeah. Damon, nice to have you on again, mate. Hope you're well.
Cheers, mate.
Including the League Cup game, at Blackpool, that's 4 away games Boro have had this season now. We've scored 1 goal. It must worry you. And what can we do to put that right, Damon? What do you think we should do?
Well, I said it at I said to my dad at the Coventry game. The keeper for me and and Grant Hall are two suspect for me. I would personally, if Daniels isn't ready, I'd chuck Dejan in because he's still at the club, Stojanovic. I'd put him in, give him a run out and see what he does. And as for the centre backs, I don't know whether you want to put Johnny Howson back in the back four, if that would work, and put Saliki where Johnny Howson's place was. But it's all up in the air, as I said, and some of the Boro fans are ridiculous wanting Warnock out after 5 games, 6 games of the season, when it should be 15 games.
It's not just 5, 6 games into this season, Damon. It's where we've carried on from the end of last season. You know, we were in a decent position at Christmas, and the run of results we've had this year is absolutely appalling. 2 of the wins that we had were against Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham towards the end of last season, who were fighting against relegation. Then the team that was dead and buried absolutely buried us at the Riverside. Wickham, do you know what I mean? So
I completely agree with you, Tony, what you're saying, but we can only, as Boro fans, have an opinion. It's up to Warnock and Gibson to put the backsides on the line and say, look,
but they have put the backsides on. They've put the backsides on the line. Well, Gibson has by backing Warnock signings,
Absolutely.
but people are thinking Gibson's give us the earth. He's give us nothing. I don't know what he's paid for Piero, but
6.5
what have they actually given us? They've given us free transfers and loanies. That Anton Desage, what his comment there, when we get our best 11. Warnock hasn't played the same team twice. Warnock doesn't know his best 11. And
just going to say that, Tony. Yeah.
He's got the same problem now as what Gary Monk had. He's filled his squad full of these signings, attacking players. And who's he going to pick every week? We've already had Howson saying that he's prepared to play in any position. So there we go again, putting square pegs in round holes. You know what I mean, Damon? We're supposed to be moving on.
But Guessy, don't you think he deserves time with all these new players, like an extra a month or so? Or do you think fans are jumping on the back because it's the easy thing to do? We're all back in the ground. We've all got an opinion and what have you.
I agree with you.
The easy thing to do now is if we get beat, touch wood, I hope we come away with something. If we get beat at Nottingham Forest and we concede early on Saturday, we all know what the Riverside's been like over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And like you say, one won't walk. But once that Riverside turns on a manager, there's no bringing it back. There's no bringing it back. No, I don't want to see Warnock sacked. I want to see him move our team forward. But I look at Fulham, I look at Bournemouth, and I look at West Brom. The brand of football they're playing is light years away from what we're producing. And for us to get anywhere near that top 6, we've got to start playing football like them. Because, like you say, if we do go up, can you play the way Warnock plays in the Premier League? We'll be a laughing stock again, like Norwich are again this season.
We're still so unbalanced, though. Even if Pep Guardiola came in, we've still got problems in the centre midfield and the left side. And yeah, you could blame Warnock and the recruitment team for that because they knew there were issues and they weren't resolved.
David, do you think part of the problem in a way is maybe Kieran Scott coming on board now while Neil Warnock is still manager? Do you think that's maybe caused some sort of friction behind the scenes, or do you think, because I think it's coming out now that Scott was involved in some of the signings that came on deadline day, and do you think Warnock's been upset by that, or do you think he's gone along with it? Do you think the club in planning forward for next season has created a bit of an issue now?
I wouldn't necessarily say so because I think Warnock's a smart guy and he must have known when Kieran Scott was appointed that was going to be the situation. But he has touched upon stuff in the press saying, like mentioned about James Saliki being his signing and what have you. I think he knows that Kieran Scott's been brought in to look for a replacement for him in the long term as well. So it's just trying to get that working balance. We'll always speculate on that. If the results were going, we wouldn't even blink an eye about that question. We would just think, it was the right move. But because we've got beat against Coventry, I can understand the question. I can understand it raising questions. But I don't know. I think it's a hard one there. If you're winning games, it doesn't get asked. And if you're getting beat, that's one of the reasons what it could be. And I think we're just trying to look for excuses. And for me, I think that would be the easy thing to do. But there's underlying issues there, James. And I think the formations and the way we're playing is the reason we're getting beat.
Okay, mate. Just coming on to Saturday,
Dave, on the formation, right? On the formation, right? We keep going on about formations, right? Here's one for you. Dale Fry has played left centre-back, right centre-back and left-back in 6 games. What's that saying to us? I know there's imbalance at the club and we're lacking a left-sided defender, but let's get it right. The goalkeeper is shit. Lumley is shit, right? It took him 2/3 of the season last year to get Bettinelli out the side. Lumley has to be dropped now, and like Damon said, bring Stevanovic back in, because that goalkeeper is not going to keep as many clean sheets. I'll keep more clean sheets than him this season, and I don't play in goal. So, the impact, we've got to find a settled back four or a settled back five and start from there with a decent keeper behind him. And we've got to get someone alongside the big lad up front and get some legs in the midfield to get them to get whoever's up front to get them in amongst the goals and get them in the box. We said this the other week about getting players in the box.
But we haven't got that, Kesty. We haven't got that. So even if a new manager comes in, that's not going to solve that issue, because we haven't got that midfielder. We haven't got that left back.
And like you're saying there about Dale Fry, Tony, you could say the same about Matt Crooks. I mean, he was pretty quiet at the weekend, as most Boro players were, but that lad's been played. I think he's played a different position nearly every game we've had so far this season. I just don't think it's helping that the players are getting chopped and changed, moved around different positions. I know you've got to be flexible, but it seems as though really at the minute we're like clutching at straws, trying to find a way of winning a game, or we don't seem to know what's our best formation, what's our best 11. We seem as though we're light years away from anything at the moment.
Yeah.
He's trying to problem solve while the game's going on, James.
Yeah, you're right.
Instead of
couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, obviously, David, at the weekend, we had those three players we mentioned at the top of the show, new players that were involved. What did you make of their contributions?
It's hard to judge on Saturday because the whole team was non-existent, and people might think that was me being overly critical, but we weren't in that game at all. We had a triple chance at the second half, which was a good triple save, and the Crooks hit the bar, which was a nothing header, really. But other than that, they bossed us and they made it look easy. Ornel Hernandez was trying, but there was just no support for the attacking players. And then once Boro and Lisicki came on, we were already chasing the game, and then the sucker punch happened and the goal happened, and it just changed the game completely. You had Tavernier trying to play left back, you had Sol Bamba trying to think he was Cafu running through teams. The team was just so unbalanced. So we can't be critical on these players on Saturday's performance because the team was just so disjointed.
Yeah, and Paul Metcalf's been in touch again. Thanks, Paul. As you said, Warnock does not and will not stick to a team even if they win. He changes the team and players positions depending on the opposition. Tony, it wasn't the greatest of games, as David said, and it always looked like one goal would win it. What have you made of Coventry in terms of that game and their start of the season? Is it a case of we've got to show Coventry some respect? They've had a good start of the season. They're doing well. Are we maybe like going over the top thinking, oh, what a disaster it was to lose there at the weekend?
Yeah, well, is it their second season back in the Championship, and Robbins has been there a long time now. Yeah, maybe their players are a lot more settled, and like Lee, what Michael's saying there, they might have been, deserve the credit for outplaying us, but we've been fed so much bullshit over the last God knows how many seasons with managers coming in, and someone's put there, and I totally agree. Warnock's pre-match and post-match comments, it's like your granddad sat on the settee with you, talking about the match, laughing and joking. It's never been his fault, and it's never been their fault. And it sounds good, and it makes people laugh. But this is serious business in this Championship, and I don't want to stay down here in the Championship for the next 4 or 5 seasons. I want to see us start and move on. Like you say, one season in the Premier League in what? The last 15, 16 seasons?
Last 13 seasons, Sean.
Last 13 seasons. For a club that, promised so much in the 90s to where it is now. I know we're not their only club, but it's our club. And we've still got the main man. We've still got the same man who brought unbelievable success to the club. And I can't believe he's sat there happy with the way things are going at the moment. Yeah, I might be overreacting, but it seems to have been going on too long. Too many seasons and too many managers. And if it means bringing another manager in, so be it.
I think a lot of fans share that frustration with you, Tony, and especially on Saturday, it was the first time where I've actually heard it being vocal.
Yeah. Joe Duggan said that it wasn't the greatest of games. That's an understatement. We weren't very good. Yeah, we weren't even that good, Joe. We made Coventry look spectacular. We could easily have done them with a bit of grit and fight. Every time the fans turn up, the team doesn't. And Damon, that's the thing. I mean, over 2,500 Boro fans at the weekend, and the least you expect to see is a bit of fight and a bit of bottling. Yes, it looked hot, and it looked well. It was hot. It was hot there, but it looked as though the team were tired. And you think we're 6 games into the season. Do you think that's acceptable, understandable? What do you make of that, Damon?
No, I just think it's as Tony said. I think it's really bullshit. Really, they're saying it's you're tired. The footballers, man, they get paid thousands. They should be putting performances in week in and week out. Yes, we're as fans, we're expecting maybe it's a little bit too much too soon, as we always are with Boro. But we've been, as Tony says, we've been through this and years and years and years, and now's the time to step up. And for me, we've give certain managers, we've backed them, and they haven't delivered at this football club over the years. I'll take Gary Monk, give him 50 million, and he done out with it. He wasted it on players, and look, half of these players are not here no more. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's honestly to say we ain't doing we ain't playing well after 5 games. It's ridiculous, really. Because I mean, we're not playing well. I agree, but we need to put in better performances if we want to be up that table challenging, and we won't be challenging anywhere near. Not after that performance on Saturday, nowhere near.
I mean, again, I'm just putting comments on that the fans and the viewers are mentioning tonight. And we've got people saying, get rid of Warnock. Got others saying, give it time. It's too early in the season. And that's what the show's all about. Being a football fan's all about, David. But just bringing it back onto the first 6 games in the league so far this season, I think it's apparent that there's an almighty chasm between our midfield and forwards in games. And I also find it interesting that each week you hear opposition managers saying, oh, Middlesbrough are powerful, difficult to play against. At the minute, results aren't backing that up, and 9 wins in 33 matches doesn't back it up either, does it?
No, just get the ball down on the floor against Boro at this current moment in time, and you've won half the battle. I mean, we were playing Derby's reserves teams, for God's sake, a couple of weeks ago, and they had Ravel Morrison, who's had 14 different clubs in 6 seasons or what have you. And he was looking like Messi against us because he was getting the ball down and playing. And it just sums us up where we're just one-trick ponies. What I would say to some of the Boro fans is about Tony Pulis wanting rid. I can totally understand it. And look, I've got my opinions on where I think Warnock should have been and what have you. But we all called for Tony Pulis to be sacked, and we replaced him with Woodgate. And look how far we went back. So just obviously try bear that in mind. If we don't get the next manager appointment right, and I believe obviously bringing Kieran Scott in, we're probably going to go down the foreign route. So it could work, but it could also do the opposite. So we just need to be a little bit mindful of what we wish for. I don't know if you guys agree.
I agree.
Can I just say, on the Kieran Scott thing, right? He's came here as a bit of a saviour. Was he the main man's understudy at Norwich?
Yeah.
Now, how's he going to be different at the Borough? They couldn't get Delia. They couldn't get Delia to part with the money. Norwich have been in the Premier League twice in the last 4 seasons, and they failed to stay up. So these men who were sat up in the stands or who were doing all this assessment, bringing these players in, they're still not bringing the right players in to move that club even further forward. Because Norwich are no further forward, and they were supposed to be the idea. Their philosophy is supposed to be the way forward, same as Brentford's. But they're the first. What have they played now? 4 games. They haven't won a game. They're going to come straight back down.
Yeah,
with these. Yeah, but what I'm saying is these blokes couldn't persuade their previous chairman to part with money to bring the signings in to keep them in the Premier League.
I think it's getting there, Tony. I think we look like years away from getting there at the minute.
Yeah.
I think Norwich are on another level to us now, and at the moment we're playing massive catch up to them. And I worry that how long is it going to take us? And yes, Norwich, West Brom, yo-yo clubs, but we ain't yo-yoing. We're just festering away in the Championship at the minute.
Oh, like you say, we'll end up like Leeds, about 20 years outside the Premier League. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be compared to them.
See, all I say is I agree with David. As some Boro fans, be careful what you wish for, really, at this present time, because you just might get it, really. Because if you keep wanting managers out and not give them time, well, you're asking for it, aren't you? Really?
Kessie, we were saying not this last summer, the summer before. We both said he should have gone then, and now we're still a season and a bit underway, and it's still not happened. So the change needed to happen 18 months ago, and it didn't.
You know when you said David about foreign managers coming to Boro, who would you personally have if you had a personal choice?
I don't really want to go down the foreign route. I'd love to see Eddie Howe, but realistically, is Eddie Howe going to come to Middlesbrough? He's not, is he?
There's either that or there's that David Wagner, isn't there?
I don't know if it's helpful at the minute as well to be talking about bringing a new manager in. I think you've got to let Warnock do the job now. In my personal opinion, let him do the job, and I'm sure the club behind the scenes are already planning. That's why Kieran Scott's in for next season. What's going to happen beyond then, and they'll have the short list of who the next manager is going to be. But I don't know if it's really worthwhile saying about who do you want the next manager to be. And so I think, personally speaking, I think we've just got to focus on what we've got at the minute. Because like you, David, I don't think Warnock's going to get the sack. He's here for the season. We're only 6 games in. I could win 2 games this week and be in the top half of the table, couldn't you?
Yeah, I just think you need to wait a little bit until these players have had 6 weeks alongside each other, and then see where we are as a club at that. But I appreciate what guess you were saying. 6 weeks, if you don't win a lot in that 6 weeks, that already puts you at the back, and then the season's a write-off, and then you're looking at it saying, well, the season's a write-off, and we're only going into November. So I can appreciate both points.
You see, it might not even be what we're thinking, like a new manager completely. It might be like Warnock, as I said at the start. It could be for next season. It could be Warnock upstairs and then Kevin Blackwell taking the job.
Jesus.
You know what I mean?
I mean, Tony, it wasn't a great day on Saturday, and it certainly wasn't the result we were hoping for. And very few players probably emerged from the game with any credit, but I think one person does deserve a bit of praise and a shout out, and that's Sol Bamba, isn't it, Tone?
Yeah, to overcome what he's overcome and to come to our club and, over the summer and prove himself that he's still capable of being a professional footballer and, to be offered a contract. Yeah, fair play to the lad. It must have been a great feeling for him. As a player and what he's been through, he wouldn't have been bothered if we got beat 6-0. Just to be able to put his boots on and actually start a game again for him. Yeah, over the moon for the lad. Absolute. It just shows what's possible, James. And like you say, he's an inspiration to all other people who are suffering with the same illness which he had, to prove to him you can come out the other side and you can keep pursuing your dreams and doing what you've done before you became ill.
Yeah.
Well said, Tom, mate. Well said. David, your mate Steve Golby, friend of the show, he's been in touch and he's just said there, I'll bring it on to here, sorry. Warnock's got 1 season left. Did he really have any achievements for this season? Every manager wants to go up the league, but if Warnock is going, is he that bothered? But he'll want to go out on a high. He won't want to go out on a low this season, will he? And say, he said before, I've not come to Middlesbrough to be in mid-tables. He'll want to do well this season. That's just in his makeup, isn't it?
It is. But then on the flip side, that he contradicted himself again and said, oh, but we all know we're not the bookies' favourites, and if we can get into the top 10, it's been a good season. So I think that's another part where the frustration comes, because he's contradicting himself. But Yeah, he's going to want to go out in a high. And to be realistic, I think Gibson has backed him. 6 million, whether there is signings or not, Gibson's provided him with 12 new players, regardless of them being free signings or loan signings. He has backed him to a certain degree. These loan signings still come with a fee. So Warner will want to go on a high. And that's one of the reasons why I can't see him getting sacked, as we touched upon on Saturday. He's going to want to go on a high, and he's going to want to do it. And I think if it gets to November, December time, and he doesn't realistically see that, he'll walk to one side.
Yeah,
he won't want the season to peter out. I don't believe.
No. Before we move off the Coventry game, just got this one more point to raise, and it's Anton's been in touch again. Thanks for getting in touch, Anton. He said, "Be honest, lads, before the season started, did you think we could go and conquer the league? Because you'd be surprised how many actually didn't have this mindset." I haven't spoke to any Boro fan, I don't think, lads, that thought we'd conquer the league this year. I think most Boro fans were hoping we'd improve on last season and make the playoffs. I don't know. Have I read that wrong, Tony, or what were your thoughts?
Totally agree, James. I thought with a couple of right signings, we could, threaten the top six. And I never thought we were going to push for the top six. You know what I mean? Especially the state the club's in. But I dare say, we're Boro fans, and I dare say there's quite a few who thought we were going to make a push for promotion this season. But my hopes got raised a bit when we signed Piero and Hernandez. Now Hernandez has come in from Norwich. I think, I still haven't seen enough of Piero, to tell you the truth, to see what he is going to be like and what he's going to bring. But when we signed Hernandez, that lifted my spirits a hell of a lot. But as for thinking the Boro were going up when one of our first signings was Sammy Amiobi, my top six dreams went straight out the window, James. You know what I mean? Because is he still laid up on Gusted's sick bed? Is he still up there?
He's still getting
there's no sign of him coming back, and it seems like it's a long-term absence it's going to be. So, yeah.
He's got Rudy's old locker and Rudy's old sick bed, and he's keeping the physio busy.
Well, again, there's the fans are getting in touch with Martin Sturman, said mid-table at the very best. And I think most Boro fans, Damon, have said that have been happy with the playoffs at the season's start. And I think a lot of teams aim for the top six and hope they make the top six, but there's a lot of teams in that boat, and I think we're one of them, aren't we, Damon?
Yeah, because of the club, the size of the club we are, and the facilities that we have, they all want us to put us in high position every year. And the media obviously drum it up a bit as well, don't they? So I've still got hope that we'll finish in the last playoff place, but given these signings, they have to gel, don't they? So, and we have to give it time, as I said, James. If we don't give it time, then it's going to just fall tits up, really, isn't it? So
the only worry I have, guys, is the link between midfield and attack and midfield and defence. And if you don't get that right in the core of a team, you've got problems. And every time I've seen us play this season, we've lost the battle in that centre midfield.
Yeah.
For me, it's the back four and the goalkeeper.
Like you say, we've lost Saville, we've lost Morsey.
Yeah.
We've lost some legs. I know there wasn't no great pace, but we've lost a couple of workhorses there. You know what I mean? So one has got to find a solution and get some legs back in that midfield.
Yeah.
And again, we're getting all contrasting thoughts. And some saying the reaction's way over the top. We're only 6-7 games in. The season's hardly got started. Then some people say, well, neither of the Boroughs. And it's you can see both sides of the arguments. But what isn't in any dispute or argument is we're on our way to the City Ground on Wednesday night to play Nottingham Forest. Tony, we're taking on Chris Hughton's side. And if we've had an indifferent start to the season, should we say, Forest have had a dreadful one. Has that surprised you, mate?
Like you say, it just shows you a manager like Chris Houghton, who's, he's got a few promotions on his CV, and he's gone to Forest, and they've chopped and changed for God knows how many seasons as well now, and they're just slow going down that league. dropping every season now, and I'm really surprised that Chris Houghton's gone there and he hasn't been able to do a job, because I dare say there was a few Boro fans when we were looking for Warnock were touting for him to come to the Boro.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? With his reputation. So yeah, I'm really surprised. Massive club, Forest, and when you see clubs like that, struggling, this is what worries me as a Boro fan, because they just seem to be getting worse and worse every week, Forest. And God, if he gets the sack, who would they bring in? You know what I mean? Because I bet you the Forest fans are screaming for his head as well.
Yeah,
But it is a crazy league. I know I might be overreacting or whatever. It's a crazy league, but when you've got a manager like that with his experience struggling, Damon said, "Be careful what you wish for." But I'd like to swap managers. I'd give Forest Warnock and us have the other fella.
We said that, didn't we, on Saturday?
You did, yeah. Let us know, Boro fans, what you think. I mean, Damon, come to you now, pal. It's not traditionally the happiest of hunting grounds for us, the City ground. But the plight the Forest are in, we can't afford to show them any sympathy on Wednesday. It's a big game for us, and we need to get a positive result, don't we?
Yeah, of course, James. You've got to be ruthless in these games. We just need some points just as much as Forest do. And if we don't go there with positive mindset, we'll absolutely get taken apart all over the pitch. And if our back four ain't on song, and especially our goalkeeper, but I'd change it. I'd change the goalkeeper personally on Wednesday night. Put Stjanovic in, or Daniels, is it? Luke Daniels, I'll put him in.
Do you think he'll do that, Damon?
I think he could. I think it's a possibility. I think there's a strong possibility he will, but as I said, we've got to go there with the right mindset. If we don't, we'll get turned over, James. Simple
Damon,
as that.
I'm not disagreeing with you or agree. I'm just curious. Why do you think the issue is Joe Lumley? Cause I'm not just going on Saturday's performance, but he couldn't have done anything with the goals on Saturday. But I see a lot of Boro fans are saying something similar to you about Joe Lumley. But I don't think Luke Daniels or Stjanovic are any better.
Do you think partly we've been spoiled in the past with Randolph? Because
I do.
I think some Boro fans made their mind up as soon as, and I must admit, I'm not wholly convinced by Joe Lumley yet. But again, like everything, you've got to give it time. You've got to think, well, we're 6 games into the season. But is it a fact that we're comparing him to someone that played here a couple of years ago?
I'm comparing him to Brad Gozan.
That doesn't bode well, Tony.
David, you said he couldn't do out with the goals on Saturday. What about the one he left through his legs like Brad did?
What, against QPR?
No, I'm on about Gozan, who like letting it through his legs all the time.
Yeah,
their second goal went through Lumley's legs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but let's be honest, Tony. De Gea could do that. Bloody Casillas used to get goals through his legs. It doesn't mean you drop. I'm just curious to see why people dropped him. I'm not saying I think he is brilliant, because I don't see him winning 10 to 12 points like a good keeper does. But I think there's bigger issues than Joe Lumley. So I'm just surprised why people are calling out.
I'm not completely writing him off, and I'll give him a chance, David. It's just that for me, he's letting howlers that could have been easily protected. You know what I mean? 2 against QPR, which I seen firsthand. That was ridiculous. He should have saved them. And obviously, I didn't see the one on Saturday against Coventry, so I didn't see much of that game. So I just heard it on the radio. But for me, I'd put Dejan in, or I'd put Daniels in, just for that one game to see how they do. And then if they're no better, then I'd stick Lumley back in.
Yeah, Danny Rose has been in touch. Thanks, Danny, mate. And he said Warnock will play Lumley. Hopefully, he'll also play Piero and Saliki. Talking of the opposition, though, David, where do you see maybe any potential threats coming from Forest on Wednesday night?
All over the pitch the way we're playing. I watched them against Cardiff and they were poor. They were extremely poor. And as soon as a team attacked them, they crumbled. But we're not a team that'll go out and attack. So I think it's going to be very much like to like on tomorrow night, Wednesday night, sorry. I think it's going to be very much the same. And it's whoever gets the lucky break, whether that be from a set piece or I can't see it being an open game with both teams not wanting to just lose it.
First goal, massive.
I don't think both teams will go to win it. I think that both of them will just be, let's not lose this.
I don't know about you, David. At the weekend against Coventry, I thought first 15 minutes, they were a little bit taken aback by how we started the game and we were on the front foot. And then I think after that, I don't know if you felt the same. I got the impression that Coventry thought, well, is that what you've got? And then they came more and more into the game, took over midfield. And I've sort of got fears that may happen on Wednesday night as well.
Yeah, and that was down to I agree, and that was down to the formation, and that's exactly what was the problem at Derby as well. Derby, like say, let's see what you got, and then we didn't really offer anything in that 15 minutes. We had a bit of possession and a bit of emphasis, but that was about it. And then they just got the ball down and played. And you know, if anybody's going to play out the two teams on Wednesday night, it's going to be Nottingham Forest, because unless we sort our midfield links out, we're not going to be able to play football until you get that midfield sorted. There's no point playing nice football from the back.
Yeah.
You've got to, you can't bypass your midfield, and our centre backs straight opportunity going long for Ikepezu. He missed it, the header, or knocked it on, and it was just going to their second man. But yeah, Coventry grew into the game.
Yeah, and Tony, we've said we don't do well at the City Ground. We did win last season, though, with Britain Saville being on the score sheet, the 2-1 win. Have you got any memories from any previous trips to the East Midlands to see us take on Forest?
No, not like you say, not from way back. We seem to bypass each other in leagues, you know what I mean? And I have vague memories of games at Ayresome Park against Forest with Peter Shilton in goal. But like you say, my most recent game was at the City Ground was Britt's return after his
First
signed.
game back, yeah.
And I tell you what, I thought we had a striker on fire, but I tell you what, he missed more chances in that game than what chances he missed in the rest of his Boro career. He just missed chance after chance after chance that day, you know what I mean? And like you say, that's my most recent memories of the City Ground. But like you say, it's a famous old ground. They're a great famous old club. Well, like you say, a Middlesbrough legend took him to the top of the European tree, you know what I mean? And there was a lot of love for Nottingham Forest back in the 70s and 80s, you know what I mean? But personally, I couldn't stand them, but they were a great team to watch, and Cloughie got the best out of them. And like you say, now they're just pretty much like ourselves, just fighting and battling to get out the Championship.
And do you agree with this? Kelvin Gibson's been in touch with us, Tony, and he said we've had a few games now, 6 games in the season. We don't seem to know how to play. We concede, and then we don't know how to get back into the game. Do you think that's a fair point that Kelvin's making, Tony?
He could have made that point last season. He could have made that point the season before, and the season before that. We've always struggled for the last few seasons. If we go a goal behind, you know we're not coming back, and that's been the tale for the last few seasons. You know, but yeah, I think the 2 home games, QPR, and the game before that, that's the most attacking I've seen us at the Riverside. I can't remember the game before Blackpool.
Blackburn. No.
Blackburn.
Bristol City was before QPR.
And we played some really good attacking football. And listening to the fans coming out, even though QPR beat us 3-2, a lot felt if we played like that at home, you know, we're not going to be far off. But like you say, the home form is as bad as the away form at the moment. We've got to turn that around. But yeah, there's optimism there. You know, the QPR game was one of the best games I've been to for years. And like you say, the likes of Mickey Bell coming out saying, I know we've got beat, but that's the best game I've seen here for years. You know what I mean? It's hard to even get any compliment out of him. So there is some promise there. It's just he just doesn't pick a settle side, and till he starts doing that, we're not going to get nowhere.
Away from home, we set up far too negative.
So what do you make of this, David, where David Case got in touch with us and said, play 4 at the back, 2 sitting midfielders, 3 behind, 1 up top. We'll do Forest 2-0. But who would the 2 sitting midfielders be?
Well, you're not going to have 2 sitting midfielders because we just don't have them at the club now. But I can understand where he's saying is then go for a 2 in midfield rather than 3. But Johnny Howson was trying to do box to box, and that's half of his problems because he hasn't got the legs to do that game. But especially the play 4 at the back, I completely agree with that from what David was saying. And
that formation, Dave's too modern for Warnock. Like
you're right. You're right.
All Warnock's, all we've heard all summer and all, the transfer window is Warnock's after wingers. He's after this winger, he's after that winger. And like you say, Warnock likes his men out wide, and like you say, that's way too modern for Warnock, that formation.
But you get wingers and you don't play him at left wing back like is what he did with Isaiah Jones.
Exactly.
You've got to go to a back 4, and you're going to have to put Peltier at left back and just say, right, you don't move past the halfway line, be a Curtis Fleming, and then let Isaiah Jones and that run wild going forward, because you're not going to get anything moving forward with Peltier, but you can't start playing players out of position because that's just why we're losing games.
That's why I think personally Warnock made the mistake in letting Hayden Coulson go, because he was perfect for that position.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect for that position.
Or Marvin Johnson.
Yeah, another shout. Yeah. Mikey Brown said there that Warnock might shot Hernandez in at right back. That could happen. No, you might laugh and joke. It could happen, mate.
No way, man.
Anyway, boys, predictions for Wednesday night. Damo, come to you first. What do you reckon's going to happen down at the City Ground Wednesday?
I reckon it'll be tough. If we go behind, we'll lose. But I'm going to go for a scrappy 1-0 win.
Hope you're right, pal. David?
I'm going to go 0-0. I just think both teams just won't want to lose the game.
Tony?
Yeah, I'll go along with that, Dave. Or we'll get a scrappy 4-0 win. But I'll go. I agree with Dave. Both teams won't want to lose Wednesday night. Going into another weekend, with no points. So yeah, I can see it being a 0-0 thriller.
I love it.
Now, aren't we?
All the predictions so far that have come in have all come for either Boro to win or a draw. Sorry, I've got my first Forest winner here. Zach Buckley will lose 1-0. So there you go. We've all had a bit of a moan and a whinge tonight, but a lot of people still expected Boro to pick up a result at on Wednesday night. From there, we go at the weekend back to the Riverside, taking on Blackpool. Another side that before the weekend was struggling but picked up a great result, beating Fulham on Saturday. Blackpool visiting the Riverside, Damon, with the greatest respect, everything that's gone before, and Blackpool just coming up from League One. That is a must-win game on Saturday, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, yes, even though they had a different team out us in the cup, I still reckon we'll get a result against them. Another 1-0 would be perfect for me. But I'd take a draw as well in that game.
You'd take a draw against Blackpool?
I would.
Mate. Well, we haven't got the predictions yet, but I'm going to hold you to that one, mate.
Yeah.
David, the Tangerines have beat us 3-0 last month in the League Cup. Do you think that game and that result counts for anything, though, on Saturday?
Nah, not a chance. Saturday's all about getting a result, 3 points, but more importantly, getting the fans back on board. Warnock, like Kessie touched upon, if we start slow and we go 1-0 behind, that could change the whole mood around the stadium and the rest of the season, to be honest with you. So that 3-0 defeat won't have any bearing on Saturday.
And Tony, I mean, it's the first home game in 3 weeks since the Blackburn match. What sort of attendance are you expecting? And what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like in there on Saturday, Tony?
the atmosphere at the home games this season up and now has been absolutely class. I'm expecting again 22, 23,000. You know what I mean, James?
Right.
I don't think people are going to desert us just yet, but the home form, the brand of football at home hasn't been too bad to watch, James. It's been entertaining for me. Like you said, go back to the QPR game. If we can produce anywhere near that, you know, we could do well against Blackpool. You said, well, you know, will the Blackpool game in the League Cup have any bearing on Saturday? For me, it will, because Blackpool have got better and we haven't improved. And the players we used against Blackpool in that game are now pushing for first team places, and we've still seen no improvement. Like you say, that result at Fulham, against Fulham on Saturday, was because they were prepared to go toe to toe with Fulham and make a game of it. You know, if they attack, we're going to attack, and by that's the type of game it came across to me as. So, you know, we've got to start winning at the Riverside, James. We have to start and get a run together, because I just feel, like you say, if we get beat Wednesday night and we go into the game on Saturday and we concede an early goal, the crowd will go flat, and then, you know, the booing will start, and it'll just, we'll go back to Pulis, and, you know, the fans are, you know, it's really loud tonight about how the fans are feeling about Warnock. So let's go out and play some attacking football, and let's get some of these signings in. The only way we're going to find out if they're going to gel is by starting them. Get them out on the pitch.
Yeah.
If you get an hour, we're still only getting an hour out of Pizzo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So get them out on the pitch, get them playing together in a game, and let's see where we're going from there. Because at the moment, we're giving Warnock a lot of stick about the way we're performing. And for me, the only way he's going to get out of this is if he plays his signings and they start producing for him.
Yeah, I think ideal opportunity for that, Guesty. I think you'll see Sparrow, Lisicki and Piero start against Blackpool. I don't think you'll see any of those three start Wednesday night.
Yeah. What do you make of that? Ibrahim Tanner's got in touch, Dave, and he said, how can one club be such a striker's graveyard? It's just noted, isn't it, that we don't seem to have the best of luck with forwards, do we? Or we certainly haven't about the last 10 years.
You know, we were talking about that on Saturday, funny enough, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the last striker we've signed and improved is Bamford. Other than that, strikers have come here and the careers have gone downhill. So I can totally understand where everyone's coming from on that. And it's got to change at some point, and we're just all hoping that Sparrow, because he's come on loan, he's going to want to prove a point because he's wanting to get a big move. So maybe that is the answer.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I don't know. I think we stiffened Bamford as well the second time round, Dave. You know what I mean? We got a good season out of him. Pardon?
We did improve him though, haven't we? I mean, we bought him and then sold him on at a profit. We usually do the opposite.
Yeah, well, like you say, we put a bit of value into him, and I think that was about it. You know what I mean? But like you say, I was the players that come, and even the players that we sell on, they just seem, you know, just to seem to fall flat on their face.
Couldn't be any worse than Dongu Lee when we had him.
But you look back then. You look back then, Damon, to signings like that, Dongu Lee.
Yeah.
You've got to think about, you know, Man United totally set the pattern with that. You know what I mean? The South Koreans, and signings like that was all about money and shirts.
Yeah.
Well, boys, prediction for Blackpool on Saturday. Obviously, I think atmosphere and crowd, probably a lot of that will be dictated to by what happens at Forest on Wednesday. But there's no doubt it's a big, big game Saturday. Back at the Riverside, got to start winning again. Tony, I'll come to you first. What's the score going to be against Blackpool?
2-1 Boro. We've got the win. We've got the win on Saturday. 2-1 Boro.
Yeah. Saw sharp intake of breath there, David. Was that Steve Golby's response?
Yeah, I'm just blocking his number on my phone. No, regardless of tomorrow night's result, I think I'm with Tony. I think we'll win on Saturday, and I'm going to go 2-0. I just think there's too much to lose if we don't win on Saturday.
Right. And Damon, are you going to go for a full house? Another Boro win, or are you sticking with your draw?
No, I'll go with a win. But I'm saying if the fans are negative at the ground and they get on the players' backs, if we go like a goal down or something, and I can see the heads turning on the pitch, but I'll go for a 2-1 Boro win.
Oh, well,
what's your predictions for the 2 games, James?
I'll be happy if we get 4 points from these 2 games. I'll be honest. Yeah. I'd take a point of Forest now, and then beat Blackpool. I'd be happy with 4 points.
We want 6.
Desperately want 6. We'd love to get 6, but I just think realistically, the way we're playing at the minute, we don't seem to be in a good place, and I'm not expecting 6 points. I've got to be honest.
It's the best time to go play Forest. Forest fans will be saying exactly the same about Boro.
Totally, 100%.
We don't score more than 2 though. That's the thing. It's always like a scrappy 1-0, isn't it? Or we grind a draw.
Yeah. Well, we've only got 1 goal on our travels so far, haven't we, this season?
Yeah. And that's alarming for me. And that's why Boro hopefully was brought in for that. I personally put 2 up top. Wednesday night and on Saturday.
I think we've said before, David, you can't see that happening when Neil Warnock can go in 2 up top, can you?
No, you can't.
I would do, and I'd definitely do that, but it's not his style, is it?
No.
Yeah,
he likes these wingers
definitely.
doesn't he?
For some reason, our managers, like you say, in our recent past, don't like playing 2 up top. And even away from home, you watch these teams, the top teams, and they play 2 up top, they play 3 up top, they play 1 behind 2, and it's a totally different game when you're getting players into the box and you're getting crosses into the box. It's a totally different game, and it's something we're bereft of. And there's not a chance Warnock's going to go with 2 up top.
See, I agree with Joe Duggan there.
Go back. Go back to all the great managers. They all loved the big un and a little un. You know what I mean? That was one of Cloughie's. He loved the big un and a little un. You know what I mean? We've got Ikpeazu up there now. Who can hold the ball up, who can move the ball on, but nobody's got the legs to get up there with him.
Yeah, it was actually nice to see Coventry going 2 up top on Saturday, didn't they? They had that Yorkes and Martin Waghorn, and that's when they put us under loads of pressure because they always had men in the box. Yeah. And I wouldn't guess Boro and Ikpeazu would bounce off each other really well.
He played us off the park, that Victor Grayares.
Yeah. And who knows, David, that may force, or the position we're in at the moment may force Warnock's hand, and he might just think, do you know what? I can't afford Ikpeazu to be as isolated as he's getting in most games at the moment, and I may have to place Sporer a bit closer to him in these 2 games coming up. I don't know. It might force his hand. We'll see. Boro fans, I hope it hasn't been too negative. I know there's a few people accusing us of being a bit negative tonight, but I just think it's just a general gauge of, I think, where a lot of Boro fans are at the moment. We're optimistic, we're hopeful, but obviously there's a bit of concern with how things have been this season, and not just this season, the back end of last season as well. But hopefully it'll all turn out right, and hope you've enjoyed the show, even if you think it's been a bit negative. And thanks for contributing. And as always, my biggest thanks go to Damon, David and Tony for sharing your thoughts and opinions on tonight's show. Thanks very much, lads.
Pleasure.
Fantastic. Cheers, James.
No problem. And we'll be back next Monday. Hopefully we'll be talking about victories against Forest and Blackpool, and we'll be full of beans looking ahead to the game against Reading the following weekend, all excited about and talking about a promotion push again, getting totally carried away. But until then, from us all here at Boro Fan TV, good night, have a good week, and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.